New York City that is likely to spark a range of responses. The Muslim call to prayer will ring out more freely in the city in a move that aims to foster a spirit of inclusivity. Mayor Eric Adams announcing the new guidelines, saying that mosques will not need a special permit to publicly broadcast the Islamic call to prayer or adhan on Fridays and at sundown during the holy month of Ramadan. Officials will work with mosques to communicate the new guidelines to make sure that devices used to broadcast the adhan are set to appropriate decibel levels. So for more, our correspondent Hamda Salhut is here in studio. And Hamda, you know New York City very well. Tell us more about these new guidelines from Eric Adams.
Bonita, great to be with you. Eric Adams is a Democratic mayor who has always kind of campaigned on this idea of fostering inclusivity across the board, any type of ethnic group, community, religion. So he said, quote, "For far too long, there's been a feeling that our communities were not allowed to amplify their calls to prayer." Now, he's referring to large Muslim communities in Queens, in Brooklyn, in Staten Island, huge Muslim majority populations. The New York City metropolitan area is actually home to one of the most Muslim populated areas in the United States. So as part of these new guidelines, they're allowed to broadcast the call to prayer on Fridays, which is the Muslim holy day. It's usually between the hours of 12:30 to 1:30, depending on the time of year, where the sun is at the sky at that time, and during Ramadan at sundown, when Muslims will break their fast for the Maghrib call to prayer. Here in Jerusalem, in the West Bank, different parts of Jaffa, Arab towns, you hear the call to prayer 5 times a day, which signifies the 5 times that Muslims pray a day. Now, last year, Minneapolis, Minnesota made headlines when they first allowed the call to prayer on Fridays, but actually earlier this year, in April, they're now allowing it 5 times a day, a huge step for the Muslim community. So they're going to allow it 10 decibels more than the ambient sound. So there are some sound restrictions they're going to have to adhere to. But Muslim leaders across the board in New York are saying that the Adhan is not only a call to prayer, but it's a call to unity. And the communities there are reminded of their heritage, their faith, and the sense of community they have while living in the United States outside of their homelands.
There's certainly a diverse range of people living in New York City. This is fairly new in terms of a development. What is the likely response from various communities in that city?
Well, look, anytime you pass any sort of rules allowing a religious group to do something, there might be some pushback from people who want to separate church and state, mosque and state, synagogue and state. So, look, there might be some opposition to this, but so far the Muslim community is thrilled. We'll see what happens this first Friday. We'll see how it plays out in different parts of Manhattan where there's a huge diverse population. But in places like Queens, Brooklyn, Staten Island, the Muslim communities ordinarily live in areas close to each other, so they'll be the ones hearing the call to prayer. But you know, there are other people who live in these neighborhoods too. We're going to have to see the reaction as it plays out in the weeks and months to come.
And certainly will be interesting to see if other cities will follow suit as well down the line.
Definitely. New York City has been an example across the board in the United States when it comes to different types of freedom and liberal policies, so it really might pave the way for more cities.
Correspondent Hamda Salhut, appreciate you being here in studio. Thank you so much.